Hey guys, I'm continuing my series where I share with you all the daily things I have to do in order to feel normal. I have to create my baseline of normalcy each day as someone who has an autoimmune disease and also is in menopause. These are a lot of the same things I had to do when I was in perimenopause too. So whether it was perimenopause or menopause, it's pretty much the same thing. I kind of call it putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. If I don't do all the pieces and I don't put them in their place each day, I don't have a foundation to bounce off of to thrive. So some days all I can do is put the pieces together and have normal function, and I don't even have any more in me to try to level up and thrive beyond that. It just depends on the day. But in order to just feel normal, I have to do each of these things. So I thought I would share them with you in case there's some people in the same situation, especially women. So when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I take my Synthroid. I take name brand Synthroid. I take 75 milligrams. Generic doesn't work as well for me. I am going to talk to my endocrinologist about possibly lowering the milligrams on this, but this has worked for me for a long time. And then I do generic Cytomel, which is liothyronine. That's fine. I don't need the name brand Cytomel. It's actually hard to get now, I think, or it's expensive, but this works fine for me. I do 10 milligrams, but I just bumped this down on my own to 5 because I've been feeling a little too anxious and I'm a little jacked, and I think it's from the thyroid meds. If you have too high milligrams of thyroid med, it can affect your sleep. It can make you feel anxious, extra anxious, and just that kind of like, the problem is when you're perimenopause and menopause, you also have trouble sleeping sometimes, and you can get anxiety. So it's process of elimination, but either way, I take my thyroid meds. I take them with water. If there's hydration mixture in my water from the night before, the day before, that's fine. But I take them with my water, and I don't eat or drink anything for an hour. I think they advise 30 minutes to an hour. I do an hour. After I take them, then I do a couple pinches of Celtic sea salt under my tongue. So when you wake up, you're dehydrated just from sleeping and your minerals are low. And so this replenishes a lot of your minerals. This is the brand I'm using now. It's, I'll put it in our Amazon storefront if it's not already there. But it's really just any Celtic sea salt. I don't know what this is called, but this is what it looks like. I keep it in this jar, and I just do like 2 pinches under my tongue. I let that dissolve. And then once it dissolves, I drink the equivalent of like a water bottle and a half, probably, or at least a water bottle. Minimum 8 ounces you want to drink, but I let it dissolve first and then I drink water. So I think if I have one of my Stanleys, I'll drink like half of this before I go on my walk. So that's the very first thing I do when I wake up is my thyroid meds and my Celtic sea salt and then some water. And then I go on my morning walk. So if I don't do that, obviously I never skip my thyroid meds, but sometimes I have missed my Celtic sea salt, and I can totally tell because it's almost an instant hydration. I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like you feel like, whoop, it's just that you can feel everything hydrating. The minerals help your body hydrate. It helps kind of wake me up too. So I know that sounds kind of strange, but it works. And so that's my morning routine before I hit my morning walk. Okay, I'll be back with some more.